Kiran Gandhi is a musician, an activist, and the former drummer for M.I.A. She is the iconic free-bleeding runner of the 2015 London Marathon. Kiran has been featured in the New York Times, NPR Billboard, and Vogue and Forbes. Fuck with you guys so much. Please give it up for Kiran Gandhi.
Thank you. That was very funny. I almost had a heart attack backstage because I didn't know that you were giving them the cues. I was like, oh my God, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Such a pleasure to be here. My name is Kiran. I perform as Madame Gandhi. My hair looks a little different in the program. Sometimes I'm a Pisces, we have to just keep it moving. So. Yeah. And I like aesthetics. Like I like when shit matches, even when I feel kind of sick. I have like a real proper sinus infection, but Whitney Bell was so strict with me. She was like, if you don't come, we're gonna have to have a conversation. So here I am. Here I am. Namaste. So, my story of jealousy this evening is really about how the emotion of jealousy has inspired me, and how it ended up inspiring achievements in my life that I feel so deeply proud of. And it's interesting because when they asked me to speak, I said my jealousy doesn't necessarily relate to love. I don't know if I'm much of a jealous lover, but my jealousy maybe relates to career and personal happiness. And so I will say I grew up in New York City to two fairly traditional Indian parents, and I loved the drums. I was always playing the drums. They actually encouraged it, which I was confused about until I started applying for college, and I realized it was because they saw it as like a diversity check mark, My dad was like, oh no, Indian girl drummer, like this is a rap, like this, yeah. Anyway, I ended up getting into Georgetown, where I studied mathematics and political science, and I studied women's studies. And I remember, being in school, and my parents were really pushing me to go and work in the White House or do a Senate application or something like that. And I just, it didn't really resonate with me. I was always playing drums in D.C. and out with bands. I got picked up to play the drums for Thievery Corporation. I played 2010 Bonnaroo. I played percussion at Bonnaroo. So I was a senior in school having that experience behind me, and I was like, I know that I want to work in music. I want my life to be in music. And so I moved out to LA. I got my first job in the record business. I was working at Interscope, and I worked at Interscope Records here in Santa Monica, which is like Kendrick Lamar, and it's all sorts of artists who I love so much. And I was working at this label as their first ever digital analyst, and I was studying patterns in Spotify streams and YouTube views. And I was a math major, so I kind of had I was just selling myself. I was like, I'm a millennial, I understand digital. Like it's 2011, and Spotify had just come to the U.S. from Sweden. So my job was to kind of figure out patterns in Spotify streams and report to my boss about how we could market our artists on these digital platforms better. So that was a pretty amazing 2 years, and I was proud of this job. I was proud as a young woman to not be the assistant of somebody else, to have a job that I felt was meaningful using my skill sets. Not that it's a bad thing to be an assistant, but they always make the women in the music business do these kind of jobs, they don't see us for our fullest potential. So at the end of that 2 years though, I was quite unhappy. It was such a mundane job, doing the same thing every day. And I remember feeling jealous of two people in my life, two people. The first was my friends, my different musician friends in LA who got to be, the touring guitarist for Katy Perry, or the touring sax player for Justin Bieber. And Justin Bieber, I love Justin Bieber. I was particularly jealous of that one. I love him with my whole heart. I really love him. I can't tell if I want to be him or if I want to fuck him. It's like a day. Yeah, that's real. That's like when you're sick, all your filters go down. So that's honest. So I remember, at the end of this 2 years, feeling jealous. Like, damn, I wish I could play the drums for somebody who I really loved. Who can I play the drums for? So that was one jealousy I had. I wanted to bring my actual music to the next level as a drummer, as a musician. And then the second thing I was jealous of, was my boss. I looked up to her. She had mentored me for 2 years, and she was running digital at Interscope, and she was such a boss. Like, she would pull up into the meetings, and I wouldn't say that she would assert a feminist agenda, but just her existence was radical. Her existence in those spaces as a female leader at Interscope, which perpetuates so much of the misogyny. And I love a lot of that music, but sometimes I'm like, damn, I don't want to turn up to the sound of my own oppression. You feel me? Damn. Damn. So she would exist in these spaces, and kind of gear the meetings away from a lot of the problems that were there. And I said, wow, she has an MBA, and she has this degree, this master's in business, and she used it to now come be a senior executive at this label and is impacting change from the inside. So I kind of saw these two avenues for myself, and that made me jealous that I didn't have those skill sets. I wanted those things. So I remember one day, my boss had walked by my desk, and I saw in her calendar, M.I.A. And so I thought, you're here, so you're not missing. So option 2, y'all are a nice audience. Some of these jokes are so bad. Yeah, y'all are a nice audience. Thank you. You're all a nice audience. That's nice. Thank you. Friendly. So she's walking by, she's like, yeah, I'm going to the M.I.A. product planning meeting. M.I.A. is about to put out her next record. We're going to market Bad Girls, and then we're going to plan the tour. I said, please, can I come? I'm like the bottom of the totem pole, I'm not allowed to go to anything back then. She said, okay, you can come, but don't say anything. I said, okay, thank you. So I came to the meeting, and I didn't say anything. M.I.A. pulled up. She was wearing like yellow fur coat. I was like, oh, it's a match made in heaven. I love yellow. So she had the meeting, we talked about her tour coming up, and then she left. And I remember in sort of this leap of bravery, this leap of faith, and in this desire to sort of turn that jealousy, which jealousy can be a rather dark emotion. It can be a dark emotion if you use it to throw shade at those who have something that you wish you had for yourself. That's an irresponsible way to use jealousy. But there is a responsible way to use jealousy, which is to say, wow, thank you, intuition. Thank you, mind. Thank you for showing me what it is that I want in my own life. And how can I use my own jealousy to take action to find that happiness for myself? And so in a moment of bravery, I asked another badass woman in the room, shouts out to female mentors, shouts out to female mentors. I remember asking Diana Cass, who was the product manager for M.I.A. I said, Diana, I know something that would make the tour a lot stronger. And she said, Kiran, what's that? And I said, I think a drummer would make it better. Maybe somebody brown, maybe somebody, who can play the part, Indian, female, And she said, okay, if you, nice, are you playing it? That's great. That's great. Actually, so I'll tell you the story. So then I was like, this is major. All the stuff that I have on my YouTube channel was like janky as fuck. I need to make something good. Diana was like, if you make me a video, I'll send it to M.I.A. I said, cool. So I got my friends together. We cut a video of me drumming. It's still online now. It's like Kiran M.I.A. live session. We sent it to Diana. Diana sent it to M.I.A., to her email address. And the next day, I got an email in my personal inbox. And I knew it was M.I.A. I knew it was M.I.A. because the title of the email was all capital letters, hi. And then the body of the email was like, listen, it also all capital letters. This is really dope. Thank you so much. I love your drumming. Thank you for sending this. We're not thinking about the tour just yet. We're still in the studio finishing the record, but I'll hit you up when we are thinking about the tour. Listen, if M.I.A. emails you and says your drumming is dope, like, you're made. I felt so good off just that. I was like, cool. So I printed out that piece of paper, and I just stuck it near my drums in my studio, and I kept it moving. So then I was like, okay, dream number 2. If maybe one day I can get my MBA, then I can infiltrate Interscope Records and the music business and assert a feminist agenda so as I can sign female artists. So I started applying for my MBA, applying. I did the GMAT, applying. I got into Harvard. Yeah. So this was 2013, and I started moving out. And then M.I.A.'s team did circle back with me. And they said, okay, great, we're really excited to have you. M.I.A. wants you, you're the drummer, here are the dates. And the dates were exactly during my first semester at Harvard Business School. I don't know what you would do, M.I.A. versus M.B.A. It's a big old clusterfuck. You know, I was so excited. What would you do? Drum for your favorite artists all around the world or go to one of these prestigious business schools? Albeit, Harvard is the breeding ground of the capitalist patriarchy. Okay, of all places. Yeah. The breeding ground of the capitalist patriarchy, but same mentality. At least if I can learn something, I can fight fire with fire type of mentality. So I remember feeling a bit concerned. What would I do? And I looked at the dates one more time. Sometimes, you know, when we're looking for our own heroes, I was trying to think who's done this before. I didn't really know many people who had done something like this before. Sometimes we have to just be our own hero, you know? Sometimes we have to just be our own hero. Yeah. Because then we might be able to do it for somebody else who also has a similar goal, who also has South Asian parents who are not going to let you give up on an MBA from Harvard. And so I remember looking at the dates, and it turned out that most of the dates that the M.I.A. tour was happening were all on the weekend, except for a couple. And so I said, cool, we're gonna make this work. So I used to go to class 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then Friday get on the flight, go and play Chile. Back Sunday, in class on Monday. By the way, people act like MBAs are easy. I guess those are the investment bankers talking. I came from music, like my life was cool. That shit was hard, it was no joke. Yeah, my life was cool, that shit was hard. So I remember being like, you can't even come late, you can't even miss a class. The hardest, I remember, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had the M.I.A. record release party in New York City. So Harvard is in Boston. I used to go to class Monday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. At 3 p.m., got on the flight, flew to New York, played the show Monday night, flew back to class, Tuesday morning, went to class, 2 p.m., flew back to New York City, played Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, flew back to class, went to class, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know what I mean? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, blah, 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 blah. So I played all that whole week. And I learned something from that experience. That's the first part of the story. I learned something. I think sometimes we underestimate our own personal power. Yeah, we underestimate our own personal power. Like, damn, I never seen anybody do that, but somehow neither of them kicked me out and I graduated in 2015. Yeah. And so jealousy is not something to shy away from and run away from. Jealousy can be something that we invite into our life and say, thank you for showing us. Thank you for teaching us what it is that we want for ourselves. Now, in my second year of business school, the tour had finished. And I'll tell you something in the spirit of being vulnerable once again. I had a bit of an imposter syndrome at Harvard because I think a lot of them did make me feel a type of way like I was the musician. I didn't even have like colored hair then. I had normal fucking brown hair, but still, you know, they made me feel a type of way like I was the diversity, you know, the unique candidate. And I felt kind of imposter syndrome there. And I had a bit of a depression my second year, not really knowing what I was doing there. I didn't feel my most vibrant self. My music side wasn't as cultivated the way it had been my first year. And I was driving, and it was winter in the early part of the second year. And in Harvard, in Boston, they have the Cambridge, they have the river in Cambridge, Long River, the Charles River. And it was hailing. And these Bostoners were running, okay? Boston people just run. Hail, snow, or earth, wind, and fire, I don't know. They just run all day, every day. Amazing, amazing. And I was like, this is so raw. This is so badass. Like, I'm jealous of these motherfuckers. Like, this is amazing, you know? This is amazing. And I think I felt a type of way like, you know, if you run 5 miles, especially in the snow, but if you run 5 miles, that's an honest achievement. No one can take that away from you. No one can be like, oh, it's because you're gay, it's because you're black, it's because you're tall, it's because you're short. You know, but they try to do all this stuff to us sometimes and strip us of our credentials and our achievements, that gaslighting mentality. But if you run 5 miles, it's like, damn, you're really out here doing that, you know? Yeah. So I kind of wanted to be like those Boston runners, and I felt a bit jealous of them. And I also felt jealous of that discipline, like you wake up and you make it happen. And I wanted that for my own life. I felt I was living a bit passively. And so, you know, I was very loving with myself. I said, listen, if you can't make it from here to there, you just Uber yourself home. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah. As a peaceful Pisces, when you're starting something new, you have to be nice to yourself. And people also, especially in those competitive environments, they're so hella extra with like, what app are you using? What marathon you training for? I'm like, yo, I'm barely trying to run from here to over there and not freeze my ass off. Damn. Yeah. So I didn't tell anybody. Towards the end of my second year, a good friend of mine said, listen, Kiran, you've been running. Because I was telling her how much joy it gave me, and I was getting better and better at it. And it was also building my self-confidence back after that second year. She said, listen, I signed up for the London Marathon. Why don't you join me? I said, okay, fuck it. What's the worst that can happen? Same mentality. I just leave. Go to party. This is London. It's all good. So life is not so complicated, you know? It's like, so I remember getting ready for my, my London Marathon. And I remember arriving at the start line of the London Marathon and realizing I was about to be on day 1 of my period. Yeah, I was about to get it right now. Now listen, for those of you who don't have a period in the room, let me tell you what you're not trying to do on day 1 of your cycle. It's run a marathon. It's run 26 miles. And you know, I remember just analyzing all of my options. I said, you know, a menstrual cup, I don't have one right now. A pad, chafing is a real thing on a marathon course. A tampon, I don't know. I didn't want like a half in, half out situation while I was trying to run. I didn't know if it would last 4 hours. There's no privacy on a marathon course. I didn't know if I could like run with the second one to like change it out. I don't know. I didn't really like any of these options, and I didn't really want to run with a foreign object in my body because when I was practicing, I just avoided the days that I have my cycle. I didn't run on those days, so I didn't really know what to do. And so I said, listen, I'm just going to not do any of those options because they don't work for me, and I'm just going to bleed freely and run. Yeah. Yeah. And if you ask me, running 26 miles bleeding from anywhere is a punk rock move, you know? Damn. It's like I toured with M.I.A. for a year. I learned something, you know? I learned something. So I remember running and you know, the more I ran, the more I thought, first of all, I felt good, by the way. I felt so proud. I was like, damn, they teach us that the female anatomy is so weak and that blah, blah, blah. And of course I am, it's like, our cycles are not comfortable each month, but they teach us that we can't do anything on our cycles, you know? So I felt afraid. I was like, damn, I'm out here running a marathon and everything is fine. This is actually amazing. I felt strong in my body. I felt powerful. And the more I ran, the more I thought, wow, while I was in a privileged position to even make this choice to bleed freely and do what I felt was best for my body in this moment, millions of women and girls and people who bleed around the world do not have this same choice. Do not have the same choice. I said, damn, we out here, they're giving me this women's studies education. We out here at the UN talking about gender equality. No one's talking about menstruation, which is the most basic part of the human female anatomy. And no one's talking about how millions of girls and women around the world lack access to the products they need to take care of themselves each month on their cycle. It's preventing young women from going to school. It's preventing young people from reaching their fullest potential, let alone in the developing parts of the world. Here alone in the developed world, we have so much work to do. We have the tampon tax we have to remove. We have the basic taboo that still holds us back. We have so much lack of sex positivity when we talk about the female anatomy. And I wrote about this stuff. I crossed the finish line, and I wrote about this stuff. And I wrote about this, and I just posted on my Facebook. I said, I have to share it with someone. This is crazy, you know? I have to share it with someone. You know, 82 likes, amazing, success. I graduated school. I was getting ready to try to go get a job at Spotify, back on that idea of infiltrating from within. A friend of mine said, Kiran, we have to republish this article. This is a nice thing you've written. This is strong. Let's publish it. So she was working for M.I.A. Shouts out to journalists, by the way. Y'all have a lot of power in a good way, And she said, let's publish it. So she published it on M.I.A. and the story went viral. It was trending on Facebook for 4 days. It was trending all over the world. Australia picked it up, London picked it up, Nigeria picked it up, and it was very polarizing. You know, feminism has gone too far, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. But then so many young people all over the world wrote to me, young people from Afghanistan, from Iran, parts of the world that I would never even have access to. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but the thing is that the act was sincere. The act was actually just me trying to step into my own personal power and get over my own insecurities, to get over my own fear of my own body, to even try to cross the finish line, to try to build up my own self-confidence. Even though I may have all the accolades in the world on my resume, still, each of us have that work to do where we have that self-love and that self-confidence. And so my work in the past 3 years has taken me all over the world to talk about these issues, which I've always been passionate about, but I used to keep behind closed doors before this story went viral. I produced a record, I've been putting out music. And I think the main thing I want to share with you that I learned in my journey is that jealousy is something that can be used for good. It can be something that is your most raw intuition that can teach you about what you want for your own life and that what might make you happy. And so don't use jealousy to throw shade. Don't be irresponsible with your jealousy. Say, thank you, jealousy. Now I know exactly what I need to do. So step into your own personal power. And thank you. Yeah, thank you.